What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Monday Acne video. Before we get into the video, I do want to mention that I have released quite a few new products over the weekend. Today is Cyber Monday, so you can use the code SQUAD for 15% off of anything online. Link will be in the description below. But today's video is about acne scars and how to treat them. Now, before we get into any treatments, I think we should identify the different types of acne scars. First one being ice pick scars, which are very deep pits, but they're usually not very wide across. There are also box scars, which are relatively deep, but they are much wider spread. So they are kind of like little pockets instead of just tiny holes. Then there are rolling scars, which are caused by damage under the surface of the skin, so they give the texture of the skin a very wave-like appearance. Finally, the least common type of acne scars are hypertrophic scars, which are raised and lumpy and red. They look like active acne, but they're actually not. And finally, hyperpigmentation. It's actually not an acne scar, so I'll be talking about hyperpigmentation more in the future, but hyperpigmentation has actually helped quite a bit with most of these scar treatments. CO2 laser treatments. Basically, there are traditional CO2, there is fractional CO2, and then there's a brand of fractional CO2 which is called Fraxol. Pretty much everyone has agreed that traditional CO2, it's out the door. It's too damaging, it's very, very deep, and what happens is it gives you massive side effects. It takes an extremely long time for it to heal up, and just all of that kind of adds up to it not really being worth it. Whereas the other versions, the fractional and Fraxol, actually use smaller wavelengths, so they don't cause quite as much damage, which takes longer to recover from and causes side effects and stuff, but it still gives you the effectiveness of stimulating collagen growth and repairing your acne scars. Now, the difference between fractional and Fraxol is that fractional is usually used for sun damage and older aged skin, just for the texture and whatnot like that, and then Fraxol is usually more leaned on when it comes to acne scars. So personally, what I'm hearing from all the research that I've done is that Fraxol is the way to go. Fraxol usually involves 2 to 6 days of downtime, and it's about $1,000 to $2,000 per session. Again, like I was saying, this is one of the more intense treatments. This is going to cause a lot more reduction in scars in a smaller amount of time and with less treatments than some of the options that I'm about to go through. This treatment usually takes about 1 to 3 sessions to see very large improvements in the skin, but again, it is quite expensive. Next up, one of the ones that I've heard the most success stories from and the most recommended type of acne scar treatment that you can go through while it's still being relatively cheap is SUBCISION. Basically, SUBCISION is where they identify where your scars are, and usually your scars are depressed quite a bit. Basically, they make an incision, they put a metal instrument inside of there, and then what they do is they wiggle it around to release the scar from the underlying skin beneath it. Thus, that depressed scar then raises, and then underneath there, lots of blood clots to the area, and those blood clots can lead to extra connective tissue. The extra connective tissue can raise and keep those acne scars raised, thus reducing the depth and the texture differences in your face from the scars. With SUBCISION, you can actually see quite a bit of improvement with 1 session, but it's generally recommended to get multiple sessions, between 2 and 5 sessions. You can also combine it with different methods, different things like laser, microneedling, etc., and that can just increase the effectiveness of all the treatments combined. Now, with SUBCISION, the downtime is going to be about a week to 2 weeks, and mainly what's going to happen is you're going to see lots of bruising from all that kind of invasive, I guess, surgery, if that's what you want to call it. This bruising and swelling is going to be apparent for about 1 to 2 weeks, and the price per session is massively different depending on who you go to and what they do. It's between $50 and $750. This is because some people will just focus on a few scars, and some people will do the entire face at once. Next up, and probably something that I would never do in my life, is augmentation / fillers. Basically, what they do is they identify different acne scars on your face that need to be elevated. They take a solution inside of a syringe and inject it into those scars or underneath those scars to raise it, basically just filling in those holes. Now, my personal issue with this type of treatment is that they either use fat, silicone, collagen, or hyaluronic acid, and they don't usually use silicone because there's so many side effects that can come from it. So when you use those other ones, what happens is your body reabsorbs those materials after about 9 to 12 months. So basically what happens is those fillers, that augmentation you put in your face, is pretty much gone after a year. You see about 50% decrease in a year. So if you don't want to go through doing fillers every single year, then you're probably not going to want to do this treatment. This is definitely a temporary treatment. The downtime for this is relatively short, so it's about 24 hours, and you're supposed to limit the range of motion of how much you move your face. The effectiveness is pretty high up there. People see good results from it, but again, you do have to go back every single year to reapply it and redo it to your face. Now, the cost is between $500 and $1,000. So again, this is kind of a case of whether or not it's worth it to you. Next up, we have chemical peels, and this goes anywhere from light to heavy, from amateur and do it at home type of things to extremely professional, very dangerous situations. I'm going to go with the light one first. And with the light treatment, you can use something like AHA, alpha hydroxy acid. This is just something that you're going to put on your face topically. You're going to wash it off. It's just going to basically take off that first, most superficial layer of dead skin and get that off of your face. It's going to cause mild irritation, some pinkness, some swelling, etc., etc. It's going to take a few days to kind of level out and go back down, but this is the lightest type of treatment. You can either go get this, and it's relatively cheap, or you can just buy something on Amazon or at your local store, AHA, and you can just apply it yourself. Again, this is very light, so the results can be very light, the downtime's gonna be very light, the price very light. Next up is medium chemical peels, and mostly this is not performed at home. I'm sure you could purchase this stuff somewhere and get it and do it at your house, but honestly, I think this is something professionals should deal with because this can actually damage you quite a bit. They use an acid called TCA, tricolor acetic acid. They usually use it in 20 to 40%, and they're gonna apply this to your face for anywhere between 30 seconds to 10 minutes. This is just gonna be an even more intense peel, take off a little bit deeper layers of your skin, and from this, you're gonna, of course, experience the same side effects, but just more intense. And the side effects are going to take about 1 to 10 days. With this one, you are going to experience quite a bit of flaking, a little bit of crust, some fluids and whatnot soaking through your skin as you're recovering from it. Those sessions are about $100 to $250, and generally you're going to need a few sessions to really see results. Next, you can move up to the heaviest version of chemical peels. They're either going to use phenol or they're going to use 70 to 100% TCA. That is intense. For this type of a session, for this type of treatment, you are going to be hooked up to a cardiopulmonary system. You're going to have IVs inside of you. You're going to be tracked and monitored through every piece of this treatment because it is that intense. So before you just decide to willy-nilly do this, really look into the side effects, look into everything about it. But the sides are generally going to be the same as the ones before, but more intense. So you're going to have, redness and pinkness and swelling and irritation and whatnot. But there are also side effects that may happen. They aren't very common, but they may happen. You may be sensitive to the sun forever. Seriously, this might increase your sensitivity forever. But also one of the side effects listed that can happen is that you're never able to tan again. Also with this one, you could experience discoloration of the skin or of the acne, and you can actually see a resurgence of acne just due to the bacterial spread and removing all types of bacteria. This heaviest type of chemical treatment is between $2,000 and $6,000. So that's way out of my price range, probably way out of most people's price range, but I thought I would try to keep this as conclusive as possible. The downtime for this is 2 weeks with heavy flaking, color, pinkness, discoloration, fluids. Now this gets us to microneedling, and this is the one that I know the most about, and the reason that I know this the most is because this is the one that I have personally gone through 3 sessions of, and I personally really like this one. I've seen results and stuff already, but it takes a long time to see results from this one. Basically, this treatment is just like getting a tattoo with no ink in the tattoo gun. That's the kind of idea I give to people to explain it. All it is a collection of microneedles that are inside of a pen that push out of the pen and make very small incisions with these very thin needles all throughout your face at different angles and at different depths depending on the person who's operating the actual pen. They're going to go up and down your face, then they're going to go side to side on your face, then they're going to go diagonal on your face, making sure that they hit you in 3 different directions. The downtime for this one is actually pretty easy and pretty quick, although it's pretty severe for the days that you do have it. So it'll take about 1 to 3, maybe 4 days until your face comes from fully red right after until it's all the way back to normal. You can go back in the sun. There's no problems at all. But for those 1 to 4 days, you are going to be very red. You're going to be extremely sensitive to the sun. Your face is going to sting in the shower, all sorts of stuff like that. It's going to be very dry, and you just cannot touch it at all. A lot of people have done this one, and it's relatively highly regarded in terms of actual success rate. It does take multiple sessions for most people. I've gone through 3 sessions, and that's generally the least amount that you should go to that's recommended. And generally, you don't see results until about 4 to 12 months after the treatment. And this is because it takes so long for your collagen production to actually catch up to these treatments that you don't see the filling out and the raising of your acne scars for that amount of time. So keep that in mind. Keep patient when you're doing these, especially when checking for your results. The price for this type of a treatment is generally between $150 and $400 depending on the person that you're going to. And you can also make bundle deals. Always try to haggle your acne scar people. This brings us to the final acne scar treatment that I'm going to discuss. There's quite a few more out there, but I feel like the ones that I've listed so far are the ones that you should check out. These are the most effective ones. This one is on the list because so many people know about it, but I put it on there because I want to mention that it's generally not that effective. Dermabrasion. This is just a diamond or a wire wheel brush that spins at 30 to 60,000 RPMs and goes on your face. Just think about like a roll of sandpaper that they put on your face just slightly, and it rubs off that top superficial layer of skin. You've also probably seen this in stores. Clarisonic, I think, has one. That's probably the most popular one. And it's just a bunch of bristles, fabric bristles, that spin in a circle, and you're supposed to do it before your showers or whatever. So there's a professional and there's an at-home version of this treatment. My camera just died, so hopefully I'm picking up where I just left off. But basically, this treatment is good for people who have the most superficial, littlest amount of scarring. Otherwise, I think you should go with a more intense treatment. All right, that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you so much for sourcing this question in last week's video. Please, if you have any questions related to acne, Accutane, acne scars, anything to do with acne at all, leave them in the comments below. It's how I source a lot of the stuff that I do in the next acne video next week. Also, make sure that you add me on Instagram and on Snapchat. That's where I ask you guys to vote for what video you'd like me to do this week. I always ask the people on Snapchat what to do next. So make sure that you're following me on there so you can partake in that. If you enjoyed the video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Team Beyond the Week. CD.
Lift heavy or die, MIRIN, motherfucker.
Team Beyond the Week.